Before starting, the installer must refer to Gatic's layout drawing. This drawing is unique to the unit supplied. It shows rebate requirements and cover positions. Written installation instructions are also supplied with the goods upon delivery. When you place an order, you must indicate 3 essential requirements. 1. The clear opening of the pit chamber that needs to be covered. 2. The required load class of the Multispan system. 3. Any information regarding obstructions or depth-width restrictions in the slab, remembering that obstructions such as pipes or walls may restrict the direction of the cover removal. Gatic will provide a dimensioned drawing showing the actual opening of the cover and frame and suggested rebate details. Drawings must be approved prior to Gatic processing the order. With orders for Multispan units, Gatic also provide U-shape assembly clamps, Tommy bars, spanners, keyhole plugs and manual lifting keys. Form the frame and wall box rebates around the pit strictly in accordance with Gatic's drawing. It is important to follow the stated dimensions, otherwise the Multispan cover will not fit. The frame is delivered in sections together with beam assemblies and covers. Ensure that the end frames match with the side frame components. The end frames can be identified as those sections with the beam end wall box forming part of their construction. Frame sections and beam assemblies are numbered to help locate the cover positions. Identification numbers are shown on the cover layout drawing supplied. Numbers can be found painted on the ends of covers, beams and outside faces of frames. Number tags are also fixed to the underside of the cover and also to the frame and beams. The lowest numbers in each row of covers indicate that this is the front end of the unit. Position the back end frames in the wall box pockets at one end of the unit and loosely join the sections together. Do not tighten the joints at this stage so that you do not damage the lead packers. On the illustration, you will notice that all front frames are positioned at one end and back frames on the other end. The drawing will indicate which is the front end of the Multispan cover, as being the lowest number in each row of covers. For units with more than 2 beams, refer to the cover layout drawing for the number sequence. Locate the side frame assemblies. These are handed so that they only fit on the correct side of the cover and offer up to the back end frames. Remember that there are a number of small frame pieces that make up a straight frame. Check that lead spacers at the frame joints have not been damaged, otherwise the frame will no longer mate with the cover. Again, loosely bolt the frames together. Now position the front end frames in the wall box pockets and loosely join the frames together in the middle and at the corners. Using the large Tommy bar, gradually screw down on the levelling bolts on the bottom of the wall boxes until the top of the frame is approximately level with the finished floor level. Now using the small Tommy bar, gradually screw down on the levelling bolts in the side frame to also bring them up to the desired level. Locate the correct beam assembly, look for the numbers painted on the beam and corresponding tags on the frame, and lower into the wall boxes. Tap down on the filler block using a rubber mallet and then, using the small assembly clamp, clip the end of the beam into the wall box. If the filler block is not flush, then the beam is not seated correctly in the wall box and you will need to adjust it accordingly. Dimensionally, check the diagonals of the frame to ensure it is roughly square and make sure that none of the frame is overhanging into the pit. There should be about a 10 mm sit back of the frame all around the opening. Do not attempt to pour concrete at this stage. It is important that covers are correctly located and in position before any concrete is poured. Now start positioning the covers. Clean off any site debris from the seating faces of the covers and frames. Starting at the front end of the middle row, lay the 3 covers down between the 2 beams. These covers are identified by referring to the layout drawing for a numbering sequence. With these 3 covers in position, adjust on the wall box levelling bolts to attain the required height, but also to make sure that the covers are seating correctly and not rocking. Now position the 3 covers in one of the end rows, but this time level up the side frames, adjusting the leveling bolts until covers do not rock. Repeat for the other end row. The cover is now sound enough to walk on to check that covers are not rocking. Whilst walking across the cover, tap the corners of the covers with a baulk of timber to ensure that they are firmly down. Use the assembly clamps at this point to ensure that the unit is seated correctly. Visually, check around the top edges of the covers and frames, making sure that random grinding marks align with each other. If you can see a mark on the frame that is not on the adjacent cover, you have something out of sequence, and this needs to be put right. Now go around the frame and tighten all of the frame joints which have been connected at sight, but do not over-tighten them, they only need to be nipped up. Quickly check that the grinding nicks match up. These are found on the top edge of the covers and frame at random points. The inside of the pit will now need to be shuttered up to prevent spalling of the concrete when poured and vibrated into place. Remove the covers in reverse order and stack at the side of the pit. Place timber shuttering around the inside of the pit and brace as appropriate. The shuttering should sit approximately 10 mm higher than the bottom of the frame. Now replace the covers, taking care that they are in the correct positions. Using small assembly clamps, clamp the covers together across their mating joints and at the ends across the cover to frame joint. Using the large assembly clamps, clamp across the covers where they are seating on the beam assembly. Before concreting the frame and covers in place, it will be necessary to cut small thin pieces of steel and place over the 4 holes in the base of each cover. Insert keyhole plugs and place masking tape over them. If you are happy that the covers are level and non-rocking, the Multispan unit is now ready to receive concrete. The grade of concrete should be 45 newtons per millimetre squared cube or 40 newtons per millimetre squared cylinder strength. The concreting should now be carried out in 2 stages. Stage 1. Leave the assembly clamps in place and part fill the rebate around the frame, going approximately 25 mm up the back of the frame, thoroughly tamping and vibrating as you go, making sure that it flows under the frame. Stage 2. When the Stage 1 concrete is set, you can remove the assembly clamps and proceed to infill the covers and around the rest of the frame with concrete. Thoroughly tamp and vibrate the concrete. Float off the surface to the desired texture. Please note that concrete should be finished flush with the top surface so that edges of covers and frames are visible. Allow the concrete to cure for 24 hours. Early removal of the covers may cause the frame to distort and damage the concrete. This may prevent the covers from fitting back into the frame. Remove covers from the frames and strike the shuttering below, checking that the concrete has fully flowed under the frame. Remove the beam assemblies and clean off all site debris and concrete residue from any seating faces. Apply a thin coat of graphite-based grease to the filler blocks and all seating faces of the covers and frame, then reposition beam assemblies and covers back into the frame. Check that they are in their correct numbered position and check that the grinding marks around the top surface align. Replace keyhole plugs and allow the concrete to fully cure before the unit is subjected to any traffic loading. Congratulations! Your cover is installed and now ready to use. Do not allow any traffic to travel over the unit until the concrete has fully cured.